The following program is brought to you by the Lower Hudson Valley Catholic College and University Consortium and its participating colleges, Molloy College, St. Thomas Aquinas College, and St. Joseph's College, New York.
The question was not, what do I want to do? It was, where can I do what I want, and do it right? St. Joseph's gave me that freedom to learn what I needed to know for bigger things.
I knew college would mean working hard. Now I'm getting opportunities that I'd never get anywhere else. Because I chose a college that takes the best of who I am and makes me better.
Hello, I'm Dr. Margaret Fitzpatrick, President of St. Thomas Aquinas College. Welcome to the Higher Power of Higher Education, a program created for the purpose of discussing and debating the issues of higher education from a Catholic perspective. In Catholic higher education, we strive to express the importance of social responsibility on our students so they can reflect on the issues in society. Our goal is to create lifelong volunteers of direct service and promoters of social advocacy and structural change to improve social issues on a community and global scale. With me now to discuss this topic are my colleagues, Dr. Drew Bogner, President of Molloy College and Rockville Center, and Sister Elizabeth Hill, President of St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn and Patchogue. And so thank you so much for being with me. It's a joy to share Catholic higher education with both of you.
Absolutely.
I know an important part of our faith traditions is to put our faith into action. And so we are going to talk a little bit about service learning today. And tell me, why do you think service learning is an important part of a Catholic higher education?
Well, going back to the Epistle of St. James, where he says, what good does it do if you just, say to someone who's hungry and homeless, goodbye, good luck, stay warm and well fed. I think that inspires us to say that we have to apply the social justice teachings that we have as part of our curriculum and the experiences that our students have, and really put them in the context of what can I do to change the world, to improve it. I have been very blessed. I have been given much, and it's really imperative. It's imperative that I become part of the positive change that the world is crying out for.
Yeah. Elizabeth, I think you're absolutely right. We're about a lived faith. And we know we have many students who come to our institutions, all three of our institutions, who have an orientation already to want to make a difference and do the right thing. But we can't just assume that that's going to happen naturally. There are so many competing elements in our society for their time, and to be very individualistic and very materialistic. So we have to put in place these educational experiences for them. So you mentioned some of those already, such as service learning, or experiences we challenge them to see what another person's life is like, how you can make a difference, and do. Mm-hmm. Do and then reflect.
And I think that that's so important. And I think in Catholic higher education, we incorporate service learning right into the curriculum.
Yes.
Right.
For instance, at St. Thomas Aquinas College, we have a course on Nicaragua every spring, where our students learn about Nicaragua, its relationship with the United States, and as a mandatory part of the course, the students know that during their spring break, they go to Nicaragua. They have a service experience in a rural, poor community there, and they come back and reflect upon it, and they're changed individuals. And I'm sure that you have also have service learning incorporated into your curriculums.
I always see it happening three different ways in our institutions. It happens within the major. So we have we have a lot of helping professions, nursing, education, social work, and so forth. So there are definitely courses and places there where that's a major focus, where they go out and do something and then reflect on that. Then it happens in the general education. We have many courses that count for the general education requirement where they do those things. And then you have all the other kinds of experiences that happen that are on the co-curricular side, and sometimes they get brought in. So I think we have all different levels. So if you go to our institutions, you see it filtering all the way through.
Right.
So you want them to experience this multiple times.
Exactly.
Yes, reinforcement, reinforcement. Picking up on your Nicaragua situation, Margaret, we also have a relationship with a little village, the village of Sutiava in Nicaragua. It began as the outcome of a combined course in religious studies and Spanish.
Right.
And when the students came back from that, they were literally blown away, just transformed. The word spread like wildfire, and then other students became involved. So even the students who aren't able to go down for whatever reason, we've now adopted many of the children in this little village. And so our trustees are involved in having adopted children, faculty, staff, and students. And so for a very modest amount of money, we're able to assure that these little children have school tuition paid at a Catholic school down there that happens to be San Jose.
Oh, naturally.
Just happens to be.
Yes.
And their uniforms, their books, and each one gets a bicycle.
That's great.
Because there's no public transportation.
Of course.
We've also established a little preschool down there so that we're working with the parents. So a lot of this came out of this one course.
Yes.
That has now become a very, very life-giving part of the college in Patchogue in Brooklyn. So it's a wonderful thing. And, I think, as you said, it's filtering down through those three layers because it has to be an intellectual understanding that then is applied in a variety of different ways. And different students have different interests and different aptitudes. So you have to provide a variety. It can't just be one size fits all.
And why do we do this at Catholic higher education? What are the theological bases that are so important to have service as part of the curriculum?
Well, the life of Jesus.
Yes.
I came to serve, not to be served.
Right.
And then, I always go back to Matthew 25, the Last Judgment. I mean, it's not that, how many degrees do I have or how big was my house or even how much money I gave away. It was, what did you do for the least of my brethren?
And if you look at all the pillars of the religious traditions that of our students who are on our campuses, isn't that true?
Yes.
It's hospitality.
Right.
It's mercy.
Right.
It's compassion. And I think that we're drawn to deepen the spirituality of our students.
Right. Buddhism, Islam, they're all...
Exactly.
There's common thread.
Judaism.
That's a common thread that
Judaism,
runs through.
it runs through.
That's right.
major
And so
religion.
I think it's very important then that we say that the spirituality we're trying to deepen in students, that it's a lived spirituality and that they can see it in us as well as in the classroom and through action.
And I think our students, I really have a lot of faith in this generation that they understand that there are some serious issues, large inequalities within the United States and globally, and that this is the heritage they are given, is how to deal with this. And in fact, if you look at the data, it will tell you that they see the number one problem not being issues of racism, which it was for the previous generation, but issues of income inequality. So they are already sensing this as a major issue. So they actually, I think, search out places like our institutions because they know we're attending to that, and they will get reaffirmation that this is important and some tools of how to deal with that.
Right. And this is all part of our students growing as individuals and also growing as professionals, because when they understand from an intellectual point of view the causes of poverty, then they go into direct service and try to do something about it, and then come back in a reflective mode to reflect on what it means. I think it makes a big difference to be at a Catholic institution of higher education.
I think it's intellectual, but we also have to provide the emotional
Correct.
part too, because sometimes it's too distant.
Yes.
And I know what you mean when you say intellectual, Margaret. You're talking about an understanding of it in its complexity.
Absolutely.
I think often they come in with a limited understanding that it exists, but they need to see what it really means for actual human beings,
Right.
and interact, and then understand it in the intellectual. So I think both are important, and that's probably why we do the things we do.
Exactly.
They go down to Nicaragua, or we go. Our students go to Lakota Nation. That's a new place we go now, and there's a tremendous amount of poverty at the Lakota Nation in South Dakota, or they go to Haiti, or they go to Appalachia. All these places. They actually interact with them. They do things. They run camps, or they do whatever.
But and we're talking about the international experiences our students have, but we have talked often about the local experiences our students have.
Absolutely.
For instance, our midnight runs, where our students at St. Thomas Aquinas College, as part of their sociology classes, the professors will come in, talk to the students who are going on the midnight runs, explain how people become homeless, how to greet someone who is homeless, to actually go into Manhattan, to actually offer some consolation, some food, some clothing, some comfort, and then to come back and to reflect upon that. So it's seeing poverty near at hand as well as far, and to see the interaction that's so important.
And to realize the truth that these are people whom life has dealt rather a bad hand.
That's correct.
And that in many cases, especially now, given the economy and the number of people who are unemployed, people are homeless who 10 years ago probably had a home and a mortgage and a job, and there is a sort of a catastrophic and cataclysmic thing that's happened in a number of families. And so not to be judgmental either.
That's correct.
I think to really see this as something that, there but for the grace of God go I.
That's right.
And that we are all human, we are all fragile, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and that it's incumbent upon us to take our gifts, such as they are, and put them at the disposal of other people. And at the same time, to be humble enough to say, and I can learn from you so much more than I can teach you or give you. And it's
the dignity of the human person.
Exactly.
Right.
It's in that reciprocal relationship where I'm not the paternalistic person who's coming to do something for you or take care of you or tell you. It's like I'm here because we're in this together. This is our common humanity. Right now, you have certain needs I don't have. I have certain things that you can use. Please, God, your situation will work out, and will. But I think that's a very important component. That because young people can be a little bit judgmental if they don't understand how alike we are.
And that's where I think in Catholic higher education, the underpinnings of the teachings of the Church on social justice are so important.
Well,
and that it comes out of our theological basis.
Yes, I think teaching them the teachings of the encyclicals, starting with Rerum Novarum.
Yes. The dignity of work.
The dignity of work,
Right.
and then all through. Pope Paul VI saying, if you want peace, you must first work for justice.
Correct.
And that these are things that have to be part of their equipment, their tool bag.
That's
so
right.
that when we send them out to take on their roles of responsibility and leadership in the world, this is something that they have to really work on. We have a wonderful program right now working with, we have a program in recreation and therapy, therapeutic recreation, I should say. And they've created this very, very close relationship with the Veterans Hospital up in Northport. And it's just wonderful. Our students go up and volunteer there. We have many of our graduates who are working there. And it's been, again, to use your word, Drew, transformational for the students to see these men, for the most part men, who have given, in many cases, their health, in some cases, their physical capacity for us.
Right.
And just to be able to serve them and to respond to, it's been a very extraordinary thing. It's
And you must see that as well, how your students are transformed at Malloy College.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We give them the opportunity to interact with many different people in many parts of the college, but I reflect back on the fact that when I talk to the students at the end of their education, I'll say, what stuck with you? Where did you learn the most? These are the situations they come back to.
Exactly, and we're going to talk more about that. We need to take a break now, And we'll be right back to continue the discussion, so please stay with us.
At St. Thomas Aquinas College, we've got one focus, you. With more than 100 academic programs, you're bound to find something that's right for you. Plus, small classes mean personalized attention from faculty. What gets you inspired? Meet fellow students who share your interests in a variety of clubs like campus ministry, student government, and the house rock band. Or cheer on our Spartans in 16 NCAA Division II sports teams. Realize your untapped potential. Visit www.stac.edu today.
Welcome back to the higher power of higher education. I am Dr. Margaret Fitzpatrick, president of St. Thomas Aquinas College. With me once again are Dr. Drew Bogner, president of Malloy College, and Sister Elizabeth Hill, president of St. Joseph's College. And I welcome you back. We're talking about service learning on our Catholic campuses. And I'd like to know, what are some examples that you have of your students participating in service learning?
Well, we've talked about a lot of different examples. We certainly have our students go out and work with individuals who are, lower socioeconomic. They're in a situation of poverty, or they're in situations where they're handicapped by some situation. Happens in so many parts of the campus. I just wanted to focus just briefly on another one which we do, which I think is important, in calling them to be responsible for being respectful stewards of other individuals. And we actually, this might not be exactly what you're asking, Margaret, but we have this whole program, sustainability,
yes,
which I think is related to the same conversation we're talking about. So I just wanted to talk about that just briefly, because I think many of us are doing that too, where we're putting our students in situations where they are dealing with the issues of the earth and how that impacts who we are today and what it means for the future. So we actually have a minor in sustainability that we created in a Sustainability Institute. So we have our students actually looking at the systemic issues of what causes this, and then they actually go out and they look at what those situations might mean. And now we've educated them so much, we can't really do anything on our campus that isn't environmentally correct.
Well, that's wonderful.
And I think most of you probably are the same way. So they're always challenging us in terms of, what we do, the products we use, and how we use them. But to me, that's a perfect example of where their experiences have stuck.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, we just built a new building on campus, and of course it's going to be LEED certified.
Absolutely,
so
right.
it's the same
Yeah,
type
it's the same
of
thing.
call to justice around climate change, environmental aspects. But also, I think our student athletes on our campuses are a great example of students who are active in so many ways but do community service. I know every one of our 16 teams participate in service initiatives while they're on the road, while they're off season, and it's just something to be very proud of. I'm sure it's the same at St. Joseph's.
Well, actually, we have, as part of the way that the student government runs itself, the requirement that every club or activity that is funded through the student government fund, and since the beginning of the college, that has always been put in the hands of the students, with oversight, of course, but they basically make the decisions about who gets funded and who doesn't. So every group that is seeking funding on an annual basis has to come to the budget meeting and lay out what they're going to do in terms of service. So it doesn't matter if it's the basketball team or it's the French club or it's the chess team. They are all required to have some level. In some cases, it's rather elaborate. In some cases, it's rather simple. But at least it's an effort to require them to think about this. And as you said, the awareness, and the awareness leading to action is, I think, the combination. And, putting it into the reality that this is a Catholic or a college in the Catholic tradition, that we want them to understand the why. That this is not just something that you do, but that there's a purpose to it, there's an underlying significance to it that's related to the mission of the college itself, why we exist.
Right, and I think because we're institutions of higher education, our students will have an experience with people who are poor, but then they can come back to our professors and raise the critical questions. Why are people poor?
Right.
Why are these structures unjust? What can we do for structural change? Who benefits? who pays the cost, and then out of a theological reflection, determine what is the next best action.
Yeah. A perfect example of that is in our teacher education program. I have one professor that he's working specifically on a pedagogy of hope, where he works with a school, a Catholic school, where the population is very poor and very diverse.
Right.
And so to work on actually looking at how the way in which they teach translates into a sense of self that helps propel them through what normally would keep them in poverty. And it's been a wonderful experience for our students.
Yes.
And the way in which we're moving forward the research on this. It's a whole other topic of research that's being done on a pedagogy of hope. Who would have thought about that as a topic of research? So to me, your concept about the systemic change, it's our students, but also how our faculty view the topics worthy of their attention, both in terms of how they teach and in terms of how they move forward with conversation. I think that's a perfect example of what we want happening.
Well, I think it's critically important who our employees are at our campuses. And when we talk about what's distinctive about Catholic higher education, I think part of it is our employees. Our faculty are not only top in their fields and scholars and researchers, but they have that value added and know what is important. They want to illuminate the mind through truth. I know that's true at St. Thomas Aquinas College, Malloy, and St. Joseph's College.
Well, I think the faculty plays such an extraordinary, the power of faculty and also the power of athletic coaches.
Yes.
I have become very, very respectful of the role of the coach in being able to really engage a young man or a young woman in dealing with the big issues of his or her life and help them through some of the bumps and to help them to understand that life is bigger than this next little problem that they have. Open up their minds, push them out. One of the things I think is important for students in college is that they get enough courage to be willing to change.
Yes.
I think it's a very, very difficult time, and the tendency for most of them is to hunker down and to approach it intellectually, but as Drew said earlier, we have to have them understand this emotionally. I mean, when I say understand emotionally, I know that's an oxymoron, but I really mean that. There has to be an emotional understanding that is really where the transformative process takes place. And that is where the relationships become so important.
And I'd like for us to maybe say a little bit about our graduate students as well. Because I think, at the graduate level, the students are coming to us, and even at the undergraduate, at different age groups.
Yes.
And so we have students who are mature adults who are coming to learn at our institutions, and I think that that's making a critical difference. For instance, at St. Thomas Aquinas College, we have master's programs in business and education. Well, those students are already coming from their professions, and what they're doing then is being able to bring that life experience, do it in a reflective process, and go out and be the leaders in their industries.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. We deal with all of our institutions, deal with a wide range of ages of students.
Right.
And we have the same mission. So we have a similar hope for our students, regardless of their age, that they will understand how they can make a difference in the world, and that we give them the tools and the courage. I love exactly what you were saying, Elizabeth, the courage to be able to apply those skills and make a difference. So, in our graduate programs at Malloy, every single one of our graduate programs have taken an ethics course.
Right.
And it's applied ethics in many ways. I mean, all of our graduate programs are professional, but we expect that to be talked about, because we, in some ways, the student who's not 18, 19, 20, 24, they already have some worldview already formed, and you have to be able to crack that worldview, open up that worldview, and then say, what does this mean in your profession, and then how are you going to operate in your profession? Because they're graduate students, they're professional-oriented already, but we need to do the same thing.
Right.
And it's harder to give them some of the same experiences sometimes that we were talking about. We try to do that.
The extra crick especially.
It's harder.
Exactly.
It's harder.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we don't try, but it is harder to give them the range of experiences we can give an undergraduate student.
We have a master's program in our business department that I think is a little bit unique because it is value-based.
Yes.
And the assessment is very much based upon the student's acquisition of certain qualities, and certainly leadership and but ethical values permeate the whole thing. And it has been one of the greatest joys for us to see how successful our graduates have been, not only in getting promotions and increments and more professional recognition, but also as persons, that they become so much more sensitive, so much more steeped in these values, and then want very much to take them and bring them back to the workplace and to their families.
Right.
So that it's not just that their lives aren't segmented into, you know, my profession, my life, my it's all of one, and they really bring it together in a beautiful way. And again, I agree with Margaret. You go back to say this is the underlying value of the college that's trying to operate in the Catholic tradition.
Correct.
Where the reverence for the person and everyone is to be deemed of value in our eyes because they're a value in God's eyes.
Right. And why do you think that service learning can be something that transforms someone's life? I mean, we're all about transformation.
Well, I think we've been talking about that already. You actually make it so practical.
Yes.
This theological, value-based perspective that underpins Catholic education to respect the other and to care for the other, which is so much a part of what it means to be Catholic.
That's right.
You give it a focus. You translate it into action with reflection. So I think the pedagogy is powerful.
Right.
And it fits us so well as Catholic institutions.
Yeah, and I think there's also that factor.
Yes.
That I never knew.
Right.
And so we open them to visions, to experiences that they would never have been able to even imagine. And then we help them to craft a response that's rooted in gospel values and that's rooted in their own value system that they have come to us with. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
You know, the parents have not been, you know, not busy about this, but that we then help them to kind of pull it together and then say, and then this is how you can act in a way that will be applying these principles.
I totally agree with that, and I've so enjoyed our conversation. There is an interesting adage: where you stand determines what you see. Who you listen to determines what you hear. And what you do becomes who you are. At Catholic colleges and universities like St. Joseph's, Molloy College, and St. Thomas Aquinas College, we strive to right in great ways and small the injustices we see in our world today. In our classes, we teach and learn about global realities. We judge who benefits and who pays the cost. We reflect upon our role as spiritual people, and then we act. We learn, we analyze, we debate, we reflect, we act. On behalf of Sister Elizabeth Hill, President of St. Joseph's College, Dr. Drew Bogner, President of Molloy College, and myself, Dr. Margaret Fitzpatrick, President of St. Thomas Aquinas College, thank you for joining us and learning how a Catholic higher education can positively influence your life.
I'm going to be a great math teacher.
This is what it's all about.
At Molloy, my music career has already started.
Why did I come to Molloy? Because it is one of the best schools for nursing.
The professors here at Molloy really inspire me.
It's simple. Molloy has everything I'm looking for in a college.
It starts right here at Molloy.
Choose from over 50 academic programs at one of the most affordable private colleges on Long Island. Join us at our open house to learn more.
Go ahead.
Start something.